So I was asked a question in the comments, and I thought it was a great question. So the question is, would I start investing in small multifamily, so it's duplex, triplex, fourplex, versus jumping straight into apartment complexes first, which I consider to be 5+ units? So before answering that question, I want to dive into the differences between a duplex, triplex, fourplex compared to a 5+ unit. So the first difference is the loan. So with duplex, triplex, fourplex, it's very similar loan to what you get for single family homes. So you could do like the FHA loan at 3.5% down, 5% down, 10% down. So that's a nice, right, advantage. Versus 5+ units, it's a commercial loan. So typically you're gonna have to do 25% down because it's 5+ units. So for duplex, triplex, fourplex, the loan is gonna be a lot better. You can do lower down payment, better interest rates. Versus 5+ units, it's going to be 25% down and most likely higher interest rates. So that's one key difference. The second key difference is for duplex, triplex, fourplex, the value is not income based. The value is based on the sales comps or what the neighboring duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes will sell for. So, for example, if my fourplex gets $10,000 a month in rent versus the fourplex next door gets $5,000 in rent, when you go to sell the fourplex, the value is just going to be based on the sales comps, not the income, right? Versus on the 5+ unit, the value of 5+ unit is a net operating income divided by the market cap rate. So the net operating income is the gross rents minus the gross income, and then the market cap rate is determined by the cap market. So it could be like 8 cap market, so you divide it by 0.08, right? So for 5+ units, if your rent is double, it will double the value of your apartment complex. So if one, let's say 10-unit apartment complex is getting $10,000 a month versus one apartment complex gets $5,000 a month in net operating income, that means that the one getting $10,000 a month will have double the net operating income, which means it'll have double the value. So, with 5+ units, the more rent you get, the better the value will be. So that's another nice distinction. So I guess with that being said, which one would I choose first, right? And I would say the answer depends. I know it's kind of a cop out, but for me, what's nice about the duplex, triplex, fourplex is when I was first buying real estate, that's what I wanted to buy, to be honest, because I wanted to house hack a duplex, triplex, fourplex, so I could live in one unit and then rent out the other 3 units in hopes that the other, let's say, 3 units will cover my expenses for the most part, and that would subsidize my living expense significantly while still maintaining privacy. But in California, it's very competitive or very difficult to buy a duplex, triplex, fourplex. I know bigger pockets that it popularized house hacking with duplex, triplex, fourplex. I think those start to go up in value, and there's not much supply, right? So supply and demand, right? So if there's high demand and low supply, then good chance that it's going to be more expensive. So because of that, I just jumped straight into single family home because I just thought, okay, I can buy this, I can house hack it and rent out room by the room. You get less privacy, and you get to see the tenants on a day-to-day basis. So that's the downside. Versus if you own like a fourplex, you can live in one unit yourself, maintain your privacy, and then still get rental income. So it's the best of both worlds. So I would say if you're getting started like me, I started single family homes. If you can get your hands on a duplex, triplex, fourplex, then that's a great starting point, right? Let's say you can get a fourplex for like, I don't know, $500,000, and you just put 10% down, which is $50,000. And you can house hack, right? So you can live in one unit, rent out the other 3 units, collect the rent. It'll help you learn to be a landlord on a small scale. And then if the value of that goes up over time, remember the value of the fourplex is not income based, it's purely sales comps. But if the value goes up over time, then you can do what I did and do a cash out refinance, pull out all your equity tax free, and use that to buy a small apartment complex, which is 5+ units. So that's how I would get started, because we all need a place to live, right? So I think house hacking is a great place to start if you don't mind living near some of your tenants. like I didn't. But let's just say you're in the situation where you're like, you know what, I've kids, I have a family, I don't want to, um, basically, even though I'm living in a fourplex, I'm still neighboring my tenants. Some people don't like living near their tenants. And let's say you did have enough money to jump into 5+ units, then by all means, you can jump straight into 5+ units, right? So, but what I would caution is if you're going straight into 5+ units, you need to self educate yourself a lot. You need to make sure that you have a mentor or a guide or a coach that can help you through the little bumps along the way, and set your expectations align so that you're not doing it yourself, versus like in residential real estate. Like, so duplex, triplex, fourplex is considered residential real estate. So because it's residential, there's built-in protections, right? Because they want to protect these. Because residential real estate, it's not like as sophisticated. It's typically not investors. It's just people who want to live there. So you have protections in place for you, but once you go to 5+ units and it's a commercial loan, the protections are not as robust compared to 1 to 4 units, because they assume that, well, you're a sophisticated investor, you have money, so you should be more cautious and know better, right? For lack of a better term, like you should know better, like what's a good deal, what's not a good deal. So that's why I really encourage, if you're going 5+ units, get help, get extra set of eyes, get someone who's doing exactly what you want to do, right? So if you want to, own apartment complexes by yourself without partners, then I'm a great person to follow, right? Because I own about 46 apartment units myself without any partners, and I renovate both of them. So, to kind of summarize this, if you just want if you don't want a house hack, and the market is not too competitive for duplex, triplex, fourplex, then by all means you can get one with like 10% down. If I had the opportunity in California, I would have done that, but it was just way too expensive to buy a duplex, triplex, fourplex, and then the rents were not high enough to really justify it. But I know in some other markets, you could do great, right, with that model. But let's just say you don't want the inconvenience of, house hacking, and you're in a different stage of your life, and you just want to jump straight into that 5+ units. You can, but like you said, make sure that you're not doing it yourself, and make sure you're getting guidance from somebody who's done it before. So that's kind of my thoughts. To summarize, if I had the opportunity, I would have bought like a duplex, triplex, fourplex. I actually was looking at duplex, fourplex when I first started looking at real estate, but it just didn't make sense in the Bay Area for me. So I decided to go to single family homes and house hack by the room. But like I said, it's inconvenient. I was losing privacy, but I was, like 27 and still had that college mentality, so I didn't mind sharing a room, or sharing common spaces, and losing that privacy. But now that I'm older, I get it, right? Like, I don't want to compromise my privacy as much, and I would probably lean towards the duplex, triplex, fourplex, but there's just such limited supply of that. So instead, I just buy a house for me, and then I'm gonna buy 5+ units out of state, and use that cash flow to cover my living expenses here. So that's the mindset that I've had. And one last thing I forgot is, when you're buying duplex, triplex, fourplexes, some loan products will actually factor in some of the rental income that you get from the other units, as to help with your debt to income ratio. So that kind of reminds me too. So if you look at 1 to 4 units, the bank looks at your debt to income ratio. So they want to see that based on the debt that you have and the new debt you're going to have, does your income cover it? Versus for 5+ units, it's a commercial loan. They look at you. They do look at your debt to income ratio, but they're more focused on something called the debt service coverage ratio. So how likely is the income that the property rate produces is likely to cover the monthly loan payment, and they want a 25% buffer. So let's just say your monthly debt is going to be $1,000 a month. They want to make sure that the net operating income, or the rental income after expense, is roughly $1,250, right? 25% above what the service monthly loan is. So if the property is not cash flowing enough for 5+ units, then lenders might not want to finance it, or you have to put a larger down payment, because they want to make sure that you hit that DSCR of 1.25. Versus, like you said, residential, it's based on your debt to income ratio, right? So if you don't have a W-2, it's gonna make it much harder to buy duplex, triplex, fourplex. So if you do have a W-2 right now, and eventually you're gonna retire like me, this is a great time, right? Like, that's why I'm trying to buy a house now when I have a W-2, because banks love me right now. Versus for 5+ units, they actually do look at it, but not as much, right? So if your asset is cash flowing like crazy, you have a debt service coverage ratio of like 1.5, 1.6, you know, that the bank may not care if you have a W-2 job or not. I mean, obviously it always helps if you have a W-2 job. It never hurts to have a W-2 job because it's stable income. But if you don't have a W-2 job, then you could do 5+ units, or you can get, you know, kind of portfolio loans or more private loans from non-conventional lenders. But typically you're going to have to pay a higher interest rate, right? So there's pros and cons. So overall, I would say just don't overcomplicate it. Buy what makes sense for your situation, and it's okay to get started in, you know, 1 to 4 units and then progress up to 5+ units like me. Or you can jump straight into 5+ units, or you can just, if you have an unfair advantage and, you know, a bunch of fourplexes in your area and you know the market very well, then by all means do the fourplexes. So hopefully you found value from this video. If you have any comments or questions, please post it down below, and I'll probably make a video to answer your question. Thank you so much.